My name is Nick Van Buer. I'm a new postdoctoral associate here with Jagoutz. I recently finished my PhD at Stanford University. My work here is basically centered on the collision of tectonic plates. In particular, right now, I'm working in northern India, where India is actually running into Asia, and it has been doing that for the last 40 million years. And so I'm studying both the initial sutures, where those two plates came together, and they stuck this one piece in between that's actually was island arc, sort of like Japan today, that got stuck in between India and Asia. And so I'm looking both at the sutures of how that piece got stuck in between, and then because this collision has been keep on going for the last 40 million years, all of those sutures have now been deformed as Tibet is being pushed out to the west. And so there's sort of a whole interconnected story there that I'm attempting to research through field work, actually going out there and looking at the rocks, and then samples that I bring back to grind up and see how old they are and how they're deformed and what metamorphic pressures, how deep in the earth they came from, and things like that to solve that story. I originally became interested in geology through a sort of a growing up with a love of the outdoors, and then in high school we actually had a really great geology program with a geology club. We actually call it the Geology Paleontology Society, very fancy, and we went out on field trips throughout Southern California, which was a very nice place to take field trips. And so then briefly in college I thought I didn't really want to be in geology. I was trying to do chemistry, but I realized that geology was really a lot more fun. I was initially interested in working at EAPS because my now advisor, Jagoutz, is famous for his works in magmatic arcs and sort of the geochemistry of how continental crust is created. And since at the time I had been working on magmatic arcs at Stanford, it seemed like a logical person to come talk to. And I don't actually work right now in the nitty-gritty of how magmatic arcs work, but it sort of was the hook that got me interested in coming to EAPS. So there's two major questions that I'm trying to answer, is both regards the collision of India with Asia. One is the timing of these, the time and exact sequence of these sutures, whereby India collided with this outboard island arc that was like Japan, which is the Ladakh arc, and then how those two together collided into Asia. And some people will argue about exactly what order that happened into. Did this island arc run into Asia first, or did it run into India first? And so that's major question number one. And then major question number two is, as India keeps pushing up into Asia, a lot of people think that Tibet is being squeezed out to the west, squeezed out to the east between a set of major right lateral and left lateral faults. And so we're actually looking at the junction of two of those faults and sort of what happened in the squeeze zone in between. Well, my research involves a few things. Sort of the basis of it all comes down to geologic mapping. So I actually went to India for 2 months and was hiking around in the field collecting rocks and making a geologic map. And then back here at MIT, I do two things. One is I take the geologic mapping notes and GPS coordinates and things like that and try to make them into a finalized geologic map that I can use to infer what the sequence of events that happened. And then the other thing I do is I take the rocks, which actually just arrived back yesterday from India after a 2 or 3 month journey, and I will grind those up and make thin sections to look at the pressure and temperature that those rocks were formed at, and the age, and their cooling histories, and a suite of other things like that that will give me information on exactly how those rocks formed. So one of the new exciting things I discovered this summer actually is I was talking about the zone where this right lateral and left lateral strike slips meet that help allow Tibet to be pushed out to the east. And so right where those two fault meets, there's actually this zone of very deep rocks that come from, it looks like maybe 20 kilometers. We still have to do the work on that, but from 20 kilometers deep in sort of the middle crust, and those are coming up to the surface there. Some of the most challenging things are simply access. Working in India is not always easy to get around. First of all, there's political constraints. The Indo-Tibetan border police and the Indian Army won't let you go too close to the sensitive border areas. And then even places where you are allowed to go, the altitudes in these areas, the valley bottoms are 10,000 feet, and we were collecting samples up to 18,500 feet. And at that altitude, it's simply difficult to work. You run out of breath quickly. And often we had to hike in, 10, 20 kilometers past where the roads end. Had to hire donkeys once to carry our rock samples. That's the other thing. If you're hiking out here in the mountains, not only you're hiking up passes that are thousands of meters high, but you're also carrying maybe 20 kilograms of rocks on your back. So it's physically demanding. In the immediate future, what we're planning to do is, now that we have the rocks back from India, is we're actually going to make thin sections and send them out to find out exactly how deep they were, how hot were they, when did they cool down from being deep, and sort of try and figure out exactly what happened by looking at the rocks. Because right now we have a lot of field data and maps, but we have to turn this into a more quantitative story of what happened, rather than just, oh, it looks like this happened and then that happened. Working with the doc's been a really amazing experience, so I hope that we're able to get some good results out of the rocks when we take them back into the lab and grind them up, so that we have a chance to have some good reasons to go back again next year.